Hello and welcome to Nigeria, The Road to 2019, a series of programs where Arise News places the audience and the choice at the heart of our coverage of the upcoming presidential elections. I'm Charles Aniagulu. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, all the news, comment and analysis that provide unrivaled insight into Nigeria 2019, including we look back at the crucial Ekiti state governorship election, what the APC did right and what went wrong for the PDP there, as the victorious President's Party prepares to fly its flag over Government House in Ekiti. The PDP says it's going to court to dispute the results. We'll hear from both sides of the political divide. There was so much riding on the Ekiti vote. It wasn't just a governorship election. In the high-stakes game of Nigerian politics, it came to be seen as the election to beat all elections, one that the opposition had to win to prove to the Nigerian public that they could take on the ruling APC party in 2019. A ballot that became a referendum on President Buhari and his APC party, a way to gauge the mood of the voting public ahead of the main event in 7 months' time, and a good indication of how the Independent Electoral Commission might handle the much bigger challenge of running a free and fair poll in 2019. As it turns out, in spite of what appears to be President Buhari's growing unpopularity, victory has gone to his ruling APC party, a result that is clearly devastating for the main opposition, PDP, making it all the more difficult for them to hope to take back Aso Rock in 2019. The presidential election is, of course, still 7 months away, and as we all know, in the mercurial world of Nigerian politics, events unforeseen can quickly change and even reverse the political arithmetic and transform a party's fortunes. But if the Ekiti ballot is anything to go by, then the opposition has its work cut out for it and will need all the luck and all the skill they can muster to stop the president and his party as they steam full speed ahead towards 2019. So what did the APC do right and what went wrong for the PDP? Well, for the duration of this program, I'll be joined by both sides of the political divide for a post-mortem on the Ekiti elections. First up, I'd like to welcome Catch Ononuju, Director General of the political think tank Heritage Center and senior member of the opposition People's Democratic Party. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you.
What's your reaction to this Ekiti election result? To say the least, your party must be pretty deflated by it.
No. We're very happy.
You're very happy that you lost?
No, we did not lose. We did not lose. We're very happy for the performance, for the trust the people gave us. We covered the election proper, and we saw there was like turnout. The people voted for the PDP. But suddenly after the voting, and we won, things were not taken into the collection center, where everything that happened on the grounds were discarded and brand new numbers were written. And in the numbers that we've seen going around today, we have seen that the total amount of registered voters that cast their ballots was recorded as 315,000. That same number, it's the same number we also have with our party stalwarts. But when you now add the numbers put forward by the final results by INEC, if you add the total tally scored by INEC for the PDP and that for the APC, you will get 375,000. That means overvoting. And for them to have put that way, all we can say is it is purposely done to poison an election we won, so that by the time they swear in Mr. Fayemi, and he becomes an incumbent, if we win in the courts and it becomes annulled for the overvoting, he will probably now be the executive to conduct whatever it is. And I would think this is very, very wrong. This
Right.
is
So you think you were cheated out of an election?
We think the soldiers, the policemen, and the INEC connived to actually present this very doctored figures.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it was that, I mean, and I'm going to ask you this, do you think that part of the problem for the PDP, that the incumbent governor, Mr. Fayose, so bestrode the electoral stage that most people hardly even knew who the PDP candidate was, and he really didn't have much visibility? I mean, because Governor Fayose was essentially campaigning as though he himself was the candidate.
I agree. Governor Fayose and former Governor Fayemi did personalize the fight. Because don't forget, these are the same two people who have been crisscrossing the government house in the past 3 elections. So they kind of personalized this fight. And going in, I agree with you, that was the case. But then, we are very happy that the people came out en masse, because the election was pretty fought on fears by people of Ekiti that the ruling party intended to take their land. Because Fayemi was known to have said on a radio program that he would be willing to give away some land to the headsmen to prevent killings. And we said no. If it has come to the point of, as the presidency said, your land or your debt, we would not agree. We were going to fight to make sure the people's land stays in their hands.
Right.
So you have now seen what they have done. They've abandoned everything that was done on the ground in the elections and gone on to right. And of course, for every crime, if you look properly, you will see the trail.
Well, let me say this, that there are a catalogue of other transgressions leveled against Governor Fayose. Allegations that he has not paid workers in Ekiti State for several months, in spite of reported receipts of federal bailout money by him, as well as the Paris Club refunds. And of course, non-payment of salaries is a big election issue, isn't it? I mean, just like the herders-farmers clashes that you touched on there is a big federal issue and will raise big electoral questions at the 2019 election.
That's right. There are about 16 states that are up to date today in the country in regards to salaries.
Yeah, but we're talking about Ekiti State.
Ekiti does have such problems, and the governor also said that he's not been given allocation for 2 months. So why will they withhold?
Well, we hear 4 months. We hear he's owing monies for 4 months.
How come they don't pay him money for that 4 months?
Yeah,
so
but how come he has enough money 2 days before the election to suddenly start tweeting monies to people across the state?
That's not what he did. Money came from all across the country. You know, in Nigeria, some people who run election, they may not have money, but those who believe in their cause could bring money from several places. I did believe that he got help from quite a lot of governors from across the country.
And just by coincidence, that happened 2 days to the election.
Well, if you are going to an election and it is serious, and your friends believe that you purposely have not been paid your federal allocations for 4 months, and they really want to help you to win, what they would do is, when they see that left, right, and center you've not gotten anything, they could now bring things from our side to try to help you. And that's what I think happened 48 hours for the election. They really saw that he didn't have money, that he has been hamstrung by the refusal of the center to actually pay him his due money. And that's part of the reasons why, because he had strategies to actually clear the debt he was owing to the civil servants and the teachers. So when he couldn't get that money to clear those debts going into election, of course you could understand what that meant. So the small money he got was actually to go in to fight the elections.
Well, the problem here, Catch, is that people may have issues with the APC and President Buhari, but they don't necessarily see the PDP and its partners as the best that Nigeria can offer, because most of you are the same people who the public see as managing or mismanaging Nigeria's affairs since 1999.
That's not true.
And the perception is that your party, the PDP, lacks any ideology that can build a better society. Most people perceive your ideas as being driven by ego.
Then look at the records. In 16 years, we turned our economy to Africa's largest. In 16 years, we were home to the highest inflow than anywhere else in Africa of direct foreign investments. In 16
well, actually,
years,
the latest, sorry to interrupt you, the latest
yes.
figures,
Yes.
independent World Bank figures, show that Nigeria's FDI has grown steadily since 2015. It's been going upwards, on an upward trajectory.
On what scale? It could grow steadily, but on a very small scale. How come we're not there in Africa in terms of direct investments from all places? It grows steadily after the president ran the country into recession. Today, things are still not very good. That's why you'll see everywhere where the Scorchers policy is used to drive the economy into recession, whenever they go to do the elections, they start doing vote buying. Before, we used to hear about
both sides were accused of vote buying.
No, but it's become now a steady game. They were vote buying in Ondo. There is also vote buying right now in Ekiti.
Okay, let me just move this on
Yes.
so we don't run out of time. What's the next step for the PDP over the results of the Ekiti election? Are we likely to see the PDP going to court?
Of course
over
we go
this
to court.
issue? Because you've said you're going to court, but you haven't actually gone
The
yet.
strategy adopted by the federal government forces us to go to court. Don't forget what happened. Last week, they started floating, telling the INEC chairman that they want to probe his administration at TED Fund. That was probably just to box him in a blackmail form to do anything they want. So when they said that, he played along with them. And what did you see? Overvoting. So why will INEC release an overvoting figure? The only strategy for the overvoting is just to poison the election so that by the time, according to our laws, Mr. Fayemi is sworn in, he will become the incumbent when the courts do give a judgment that the overvoting will bring a cancellation of the election. For me, this is just a strategy that they are destroying, and it's not the very best for our democracy.
So the next stage, of course, in the election sequence is Osun State.
That's right.
How do you reckon that's going to turn out?
Well, it's very good what the government has done. It is in public view. The world have seen this. It rests upon us who want to see the democracy survive to stop what's going on. A lot of lawyers across the country say they want to go to court in regards to this happening that happened in Ekiti State, pro bono. I know Afeba Balola, Wale Olanipekon, those are great signs from Ekiti. They say this is not proper. They will go to court. So all I'm saying is this is not the way. I agree you said that whoever won Ekiti will probably set proper. But should we, because the president is desperate to gain a re-election, will damage our democracy the way it's going? It's not proper. We have heard news of Nigerians being cleansed from their homelands in the Middle Belt, and nobody ever sent police or soldier. No single arrest, no prosecution. But for an election, you will now mobilize 30,000 policemen, 5,000 soldiers, customs, and exercise. Even prison officers were there in their uniform. Civil defense people. This is not the best. And yet, the same president, because he knows people are afraid because of the genocide going on in the Middle Belt, that he will lose elections. And I have no doubt, despite what happened on Saturday, Nigerians do not want to lose their homelands because of the current policy of protecting those who kill and then replace those other people on Nigerian soil. The people actually that are being brought to Plateau to reclaim those lands are not Nigerians, just like it happened in Gembu in the Mambila.
Well, I have to say that it's not really fair on the president and his people, because the president's done a lot to try and restore.
He has done nothing to do
to try and restore sanity.
No,
I actually received an email today from the presidency detailing all the things that he has done. I don't have it in front of me right now.
How come no one single prosecution,
but
no single arrest? How come nobody sent 30,000
arrests?
policemen?
It depends on how you. I mean, there have been arrests of people. There have
Where?
been arrests of people, including politicians. But let me ask you this: based on what you've seen in Ekiti, do you have a bleak view of how the 2019 election is going to pan out?
Yes. Ekiti showed sign of desperation. And for that, I'm very afraid. If the president is this desperate, you can kiss goodbye to the democracy. I believe this is the most dangerous sign yet, that President Buhari wants to turn himself to an outright dictator. I do not believe that this was possible. I thought people who normally want to win elections should fight hard to win and generate results from the booth. But the idea of canceling everything that was done in the field and then rewriting figures and then in that haste announce very fictitious figures to the population tells you that this cooking was very crudely done, was not carefully arranged, and I do not believe this augurs well for our democracy going forward.
Okay, we'll be watching out to see what happens when your party, the PDP, goes to court. But Catch Ononuju, Director General of the political think tank Heritage Center and senior member of the opposition People's Democratic Party, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.
You're watching Nigeria, the road to 2019. Plenty more still ahead, including we continue our post-mortem of the Ekiti governorship election, this time from the perspective of President Buhari's APC party, which won that ballot. More on that when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back to Nigeria, the road to 2019. I'm Charles Aniegolu. Now, President Buhari must be feeling rather relieved at the moment, just weeks after his All Progressives Congress faced a major split with former party loyalists who formed their own faction and joined a grand opposition coalition with a major ambition to unseat him. The APC flag will shortly be flying over Government House in Ekiti State, having cemented its victory over the incumbent People's Democratic Party government in the state. Well, for more on what won the crucial governorship ballot for the APC, I'm joined now in the studio by the former Deputy National Chairman of the CPC party and current senior member of the ruling APC, Malam Salihu Mustafa. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. So the doomsday predictions of violence and chaos in Ekiti didn't come to pass. Would you say that overall it was a good and successful ballot?
Well, to start with, I will first and foremost congratulate Dr. Kayode Fayemi, the good people of Ekiti State, having stood by their own. APC as a party, I will also say a very big congratulations to the party, and in general to Nigeria as a country still going through some tutelage in our democratic experiment. For me, I think it is a very, happy moment for us, and I'm sure, not missing words, the president must be very happy for all those who want to see Nigeria progress from the present stage or the quagmire we found ourselves in the last couple of years. This was a very peaceful election. Before the election, there were a lot of mediocrity and drama from the opposition party tried to dramatize every step of their campaign. And for me, I want to say we're happy and we thank the Almighty Allah for making it a very peaceful election.
Right. Well, the question, of course, is were these elections actually peaceful? You called it drama. Other people called it violence. And there were opposition altercations with security forces leading up to that ballot. I mean, there are allegations that your party, the APC, used your federal muscle and were very heavy-handed in your use of official power against the opposition, including attempts to intimidate the departing PDP Governor Ayo Fayose.
Well, thank God it's coming from you, who is a journalist. I would like you to dip inwards and have more investigative journalism on some of these things that just took place in the last 1 week. The APC organized a rally. The president was there himself, the vice president, and I'm sure from your investigative journalism you will know, or you will be able to find out what the opposition party did to a sitting president The governor blocked most of the road passage, made a sitting president, do I say incommunicado, or rendered him, he couldn't even access some of the roads he wanted to use that day. And it created a lot of tension in the state, such that the police had to now come out to say, look, since there's this tension already, nobody will be allowed to even use this place again, because it's going to create more tension. And that was all that happened. And warnings were given, but a sitting governor who refused to respect the seat he's sitting on had to come out in form of a thuggery attempt to lead people that they must go out for that rally. And that was when the police, in order to instill peace, had to fire tear gas. And not to the person of the governor, because he is the chief security officer of the state. Nobody will do that to him.
Right, but well, the point really is that the jury is out on what actually happened. And I think that until a proper investigation is conducted, we can't be exactly certain about what happened there. But what about the other allegations of acts of corruption and monetary inducements? I mean, how widespread was that? Because there seems to be a sense, certainly in opposition ranks, that this APC victory was bought with money.
Well, APC victory was won based on credible election.
Yeah, but did you give monies to people?
No. It's left for them to prove it, but I was not there on ground, and I'm very sure I know the kind of president we have.
Right.
I have been with him for over 16 years. He's the last person that would attempt or even support this kind of attitude. For me, APC won because it presented a credible candidate, had a credible campaign slogan, and had a very credible campaign in all.
Right. Now, talking about a credible campaign, what can we expect from the new governor-elect Kayode Fayemi? Because I understand that Ekiti State is heavily indebted under the outgoing administration, so he's going to have his work essentially cut out for him.
Yes, and luckily, Fayemi has been there before, so I expect he will be going in fully prepared, not coming in to spend some months and thinking of who to bring on board. He's been there before. He knows most of the roadmap in the state. So I hope and I expect him to swing into action immediately. It's unfortunate the good people of Ekiti will have to bear with him for some time. He's not a magician. He has to face the reality on ground to see the best he can do.
But of course, we know that politics is a fickle game, don't we? I mean, because once the new governor-elect, when he takes over, doesn't meet the people's expectations, most especially paying salary arrears, the people of Ekiti State will likely turn against him, won't they?
Well, like I said, he will do the best in the situation he finds himself. And there's one thing you should know. BU, PDP, BU, ABGA, the APC-led government have made it a priority that workers must be paid. So Ekiti will not be an exception. In fact, it will be a major priority for APC.
Okay. Malam Salihu Mustafa, former Deputy National Chairman of the CPC party and currently a senior member of the ruling APC. Thank you very much indeed.
It's a pleasure.
Well, that's it for this edition of Nigeria, The Road to 2019. Join us again for a fresh edition tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye and thank you for watching.